There are places on this earth that have completely transformed our understanding of human history. Ancient temples carved from solid mountains, forgotten cities reclaimed by dense jungles, royal tombs hidden beneath the desert, sacred springs that have flowed for more than 1,000 years, Ice Age homes preserved beneath quiet waters, and extraordinary discoveries so remarkable that archaeologists are still uncovering new clues decades after they were first found. Every excavation reveals another chapter of humanity's story. Every buried monument offers a glimpse into civilizations that once flourished and then quietly disappeared. And every discovery reminds us that the greatest mysteries of the ancient world are not found in myths. They're buried beneath our feet, waiting to be uncovered, to mysterious monuments, ancient settlements, and remarkable places that continue to reshape everything we know about the past. Before we begin, quick thing before we start, I dropped the price on my Ancient Sleep Rituals book to $9.99 for a limited time. 22 real sleep techniques from Egypt, Sumer, the Maya, and the Norse. Links in the description. Now let's get into it. Make sure to subscribe and leave a like to support the channel. Now, let's begin. The Painted Temple of Dandan Oilik. Beyond the towering mountains of western China, where endless dunes rise and fall like frozen waves, an entire city lies buried beneath the sands. No towering walls remain visible. No crowded streets echo with footsteps. Only fragments of weathered wood, faded paintings, and forgotten temples survive beneath one of the harshest deserts on Earth for nearly 1,000 years. The shifting sands of the Taklamakan Desert kept its secrets hidden. Then, by chance, explorers uncovered the remains of a lost Silk Road oasis that few people even knew had existed. This is Dandan Oilik, one of the most remarkable archaeological discoveries ever made along the ancient Silk Road. Located deep within today's Xinjiang region of western China, Dandan Oilik once flourished as a prosperous oasis settlement between the Khotan and Korea rivers. It became an important stop along the southern branch of the Silk Road, connecting merchants, monks, and travelers moving between China, Central Asia, and India. The settlement reached its height between the 6th and 8th centuries before eventually being abandoned as political changes and shifting waterways transformed the region. For centuries, the desert slowly reclaimed everything. Powerful winds buried houses beneath towering dunes. Wooden buildings disappeared beneath layers of sand. The temples, once filled with pilgrims and monks, vanished almost completely from memory. Only local legends hinted that an ancient city still slept somewhere beneath the desert. The modern rediscovery began in 1896. Swedish explorer Sven Hedin crossed the Taklamakan Desert searching for lost settlements described in historical accounts. After days of navigating shifting dunes, he stumbled upon the remains of hundreds of abandoned wooden buildings. Among them stood the ruins of Buddhist temples decorated with remarkably preserved wall paintings. Dry desert conditions had protected fragile wood, paint, paper, and plaster for more than 1,000 years. Wikipedia. A few years later, British-Hungarian archaeologist Aurel Stein returned to investigate the site in greater detail. His excavations revealed houses, monasteries, religious shrines, and beautifully painted temples unlike anything previously discovered in the region. He uncovered manuscripts written in several ancient languages, wooden panels covered with colorful paintings, stucco sculptures, and fragments of Buddhist artwork that revealed the extraordinary cultural diversity of the Silk Road. Wikipedia. Chaptne. Perhaps the most breathtaking discoveries were the painted temples themselves, although their wooden roofs had long since collapsed. Many interior walls still preserved vivid murals, images of Buddhas, bodhisattvas, pilgrims, musicians, and celestial beings covered the plaster surfaces. Some paintings reflected strong Indian artistic traditions. Others displayed influences from Persia, Central Asia, and China. Together, they revealed how ideas traveled alongside merchants across thousands of kilometers of desert. The temples also contained inscriptions written in several different languages, Among them were texts in Brahmi, Chinese, and the ancient Saka language. These discoveries demonstrated that Dandan Oilik was not an isolated community. It was an international crossroads where cultures, religions, languages, and artistic traditions met and blended together. Few archaeological sites illustrate the global nature of the Silk Road so clearly. Wikipedia. Chakanatni. One mystery continues to fascinate archaeologists. Why was such a successful oasis abandoned? Evidence suggests the settlement declined before the Tibetan expansion into the region during the late 8th century. Researchers also believe environmental changes played an important role. The rivers that once sustained farms and orchards gradually shifted their courses. Without reliable water, life in the oasis became increasingly difficult. Eventually, the inhabitants departed, leaving the desert to reclaim their homes. Wikipedia. Modern archaeological surveys continue to reveal new information. In 2002, researchers discovered another Buddhist temple hidden beneath the sand. Its walls preserved additional paintings, including seated Buddhas, horsemen, and richly decorated religious figures. Many of these fragile artworks were carefully removed for conservation, allowing historians to study them without exposing them to the harsh desert environment. Wikipedia. Today, Dandan Oilik remains closed to the public. Its fragile ruins continue to rest beneath the shifting sands of the Taklamakan Desert. Much of the ancient city has never been excavated. The megalithic monuments of Alkalar. Long before the pyramids rose above the sands of Egypt, before Stonehenge welcomed the first rays of the summer sun, a remarkable ceremonial landscape was taking shape on the southern coast of Portugal. Massive stones, carefully arranged chambers, hidden passageways, and enormous earthen tombs, built not by kings, but by farming communities more than 5,000 years ago, for generations. These silent monuments watched over the hills of the Algarve. Many disappeared beneath vegetation and farmland. Others survived as mysterious mounds, their true purpose forgotten. Today, archaeologists know this place as Alkalar, one of Europe's most important prehistoric megalithic complexes, located near the modern city of Portimão in southern Portugal. The megalithic monuments of Alkalar date primarily to the late Neolithic and Copper Age, between roughly 3000 and 2500 BC. Rather than a single monument, Alkalar is an entire ceremonial landscape consisting of dozens of burial mounds, tombs, settlements, and ritual structures spread across the surrounding hills. Together, they reveal one of Western Europe's earliest organized communities. The most impressive structures are the monumental tombs, known as tholoi. From the outside, they appear as grassy circular mounds, but beneath the earth lies an extraordinary design. Long stone corridors lead visitors into circular burial chambers built from carefully fitted slabs of limestone. Originally, many chambers were covered by stone domes before being buried beneath enormous earthen mounds. The engineering required remarkable planning for such an early society. The largest tomb, known as Monument 7, is among the finest examples of prehistoric architecture in Portugal. Its long entrance passage stretches toward a central chamber where generations of the community buried their dead. Archaeologists discovered pottery, stone axes, copper tools, arrowheads, beads, and beautifully crafted ornaments placed beside the deceased. These objects suggest the tombs served not only as burial places, but also as important ceremonial centers where communities honored their ancestors. Excavations have also uncovered the remains of nearby houses. These settlements reveal that the builders of Alkalar were skilled farmers who cultivated crops, raised livestock, and worked with some of the earliest copper tools in Western Europe. The community was far from isolated. Artifacts indicate long-distance trade with other regions of the Iberian Peninsula. Ideas, materials, and technologies moved across surprisingly large distances thousands of years before written history. One of the greatest mysteries surrounding Alcalá concerns its social organization. Building monuments of this scale required hundreds of people working together over many years. Large stones had to be quarried, transported, and positioned with remarkable precision. Yet there is little evidence that powerful kings or rulers directed these projects. Instead, many archaeologists believe the monuments were built through the collective efforts of closely connected farming communities united by shared religious beliefs and traditions. The tombs also demonstrate a sophisticated understanding of architecture. Their passages were carefully aligned. Their chambers remained stable for thousands of years despite being constructed without mortar. Some monuments appear deliberately positioned to overlook surrounding valleys, suggesting that the landscape itself held deep ceremonial meaning. Although researchers continue to study possible astronomical alignments, the primary evidence points to Alcalá as a sacred funerary landscape where ancestor worship played a central role in community life. Modern archaeological excavations began during the 19th century and have continued into the present day. Each investigation has revealed new details about daily life during Europe's Copper Age. Animal bones, carbonized seeds, fragments of woven materials, and traces of ancient hearths have helped reconstruct how the people of Alcalá lived, farmed, traded, and honored their dead. These discoveries transformed what once appeared to be simple hills into one of Portugal's richest archaeological treasures. Today, the megalithic monuments of Alcalá remain among the best preserved prehistoric sites in the Iberian Peninsula. Visitors can still walk through restored passage tombs, stand inside chambers built 5,000 years ago, and experience architecture that has survived since the dawn of European civilization. The monuments remind us that long before great empires ruled the ancient world, ordinary communities were already creating places of extraordinary beauty, engineering, and spiritual significance. Their names have been lost, but their stones continue telling their story. The Desert Kites of Jordan. The Desert Kites of Jordan stretch across some of the most remote landscapes in the Middle East. Seen from the ground, many appear to be nothing more than low stone walls. But from the air, their true shape becomes unmistakable. Long stone lines, sometimes extending for several kilometers, converge toward enclosed areas, creating enormous structures unlike anything else in the ancient world. For centuries, their purpose remained a mystery. Only with the arrival of aerial photography did archaeologists begin to understand their astonishing scale. Thousands of these structures have now been identified across Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Iraq, and parts of the Arabian Peninsula. Many date back more than 9,000 years, making them among the oldest large-scale stone constructions ever created by humans. Some consist of two long walls that gradually narrow into a small enclosure. Others include multiple pits or circular cells built at the end of the funnel-shaped design. Together, they form one of the largest prehistoric archaeological landscapes on Earth. The name Desert Kite has an unusual origin. When British pilots first flew over the region during the early 20th century, the enormous stone outlines resembled children's kites spread across the desert floor. The name remained. Even after archaeologists realized these structures had been built thousands of years before the invention of flight. Today, the term is used to describe an entire class of prehistoric hunting installations. For many years, researchers debated their purpose. Some believed they marked territorial boundaries. Others suggested they served as livestock enclosures or ceremonial monuments. Modern archaeological evidence now strongly supports another explanation. The long stone walls were designed to guide large herds of wild animals, including gazelles, Arabian oryx, and other game, toward a confined enclosure where hunters could capture or kill them more efficiently. The walls themselves were probably too low to act as physical barriers. Instead, they likely worked by influencing the movement of frightened animals as groups of hunters drove them forward. Excavations at several desert kite sites have uncovered animal bones, stone tools, and evidence of repeated hunting events. Some sites contain thousands of bones from wild gazelles, suggesting that entire herds were sometimes trapped during a single hunt. These discoveries reveal a remarkable level of planning and cooperation. Constructing structures that stretched for kilometers required large communities working together over extended periods. The hunts themselves would also have demanded careful coordination among dozens of participants. The desert kites also provide important clues about environmental change. Today, many of these landscapes appear dry and almost lifeless, but thousands of years ago. The climate was wetter. Grasslands covered much of the region, supporting large populations of wild grazing animals. As conditions gradually became more arid, many species declined or migrated elsewhere. The hunting systems eventually fell out of use, leaving only their stone outlines scattered across the desert. Modern technology has transformed the study of these remarkable monuments. Satellite imagery, drone surveys, and aerial photography have revealed thousands of previously unknown kites hidden across the Middle East. Some are simple funnels, others form intricate networks connected to additional walls and enclosures. Every new survey expands our understanding of how widespread these prehistoric hunting systems once were. Many examples remain completely unexcavated. The desert kites also challenge long-held assumptions about early human societies. Their immense size demonstrates that prehistoric communities were capable of organizing large engineering projects long before cities, kings, or written records appeared. These were not isolated groups struggling to survive. They were skilled planners, careful builders, and highly effective hunters who reshaped entire landscapes to support their way of life. The Hili Archaeological Tombs. The Hili Archaeological Tombs stand in the oasis city of Al Ain in the United Arab Emirates. At first glance, they appear simple, circular stone monuments resting quietly in the desert. But these structures are among the oldest and best preserved prehistoric tombs in southeastern Arabia, built more than 4,000 years ago. They reveal a civilization that flourished long before the rise of the region's famous trading kingdoms. The Hili Archaeological Park preserves the remains of settlements, agricultural systems, and monumental tombs dating primarily to the Bronze Age. The most famous is the Hili Grand Tomb. Constructed around 2000 BC, it measures nearly 12 meters in diameter. Massive limestone blocks form its circular walls, many of which remain standing today. Despite thousands of years of weathering, the craftsmanship is still remarkable. The tomb was designed with multiple entrances. Each doorway led into separate chambers inside the monument. This unusual layout allowed the structure to be used repeatedly over many generations. Rather than serving a single individual, the tomb became a communal burial place for an entire community. Archaeologists believe hundreds of people may have been laid to rest within its stone walls over several centuries. One of the most striking features of the Hili Grand Tomb is its decoration. Large carved stone panels surround the entrances. They depict animals, human figures, and scenes from everyday life: gazelles, oryx, cattle. And hunting dogs appear alongside people engaged in farming and herding. These carvings provide a rare glimpse into life during the Bronze Age, long before written records existed in the region. Excavations have uncovered a remarkable collection of artifacts, pottery vessels, copper tools, stone beads, shell ornaments, and finely crafted jewelry were placed beside the dead. Many of these objects originated far beyond the oasis itself. Their presence demonstrates that Hili was connected to extensive trade networks reaching Mesopotamia, the Indus Valley, and other parts of the Arabian Peninsula. Even 4,000 years ago, goods and ideas were moving across enormous distances. The surrounding settlement reveals an equally fascinating story. Archaeologists discovered mud brick houses, storage areas, and evidence of advanced irrigation. The people of Hili cultivated crops using water drawn from underground sources and nearby springs. This allowed a thriving farming community to exist in an otherwise harsh desert environment. Their success depended not only on agriculture, but also on careful management of precious water resources. Human remains recovered from the tombs have helped researchers better understand Bronze Age society. Men, women, and children were buried together. The burials suggest that the community honored families rather than powerful rulers alone, unlike many later civilizations. There is little evidence that only elites received monumental tombs. Instead, the hilly monuments appear to have served entire communities across multiple generations. Researchers continue to investigate how these massive stone tombs were constructed. Transporting enormous limestone blocks across the landscape required careful planning and skilled labor, without metal cranes or wheeled machinery. The builders created monuments that have survived for more than 4 millennia. Their engineering reflects a sophisticated understanding of construction techniques long before the arrival of large cities in Arabia. The stone statues of Monte Prama. The stone statues of Monte Prama were hidden beneath the fields of western Sardinia for nearly 3,000 years. No ancient text described them. No local legends remembered them. Their existence remained completely unknown, until a chance discovery changed the history of Mediterranean archaeology. In 1974, 2 farmers were working near the village of Cabras, on the Sinis Peninsula of Sardinia. While plowing their field, they struck large pieces of carved stone. Archaeologists soon arrived, expecting to uncover an ordinary burial site. Instead, they found hundreds of broken limestone fragments scattered beneath the soil. As excavations continued, those fragments began to fit together. They belonged to enormous human statues, unlike anything ever discovered in the Western Mediterranean. The sculptures date to approximately the 9th or 8th century BC, during the Nuragic civilization. This unique culture flourished on Sardinia for more than 1,000 years, building thousands of massive stone towers known as nuraghi. Yet before the discoveries at Monte Prama, no one imagined its people had created monumental stone statues. The excavation transformed that understanding almost overnight. The reconstructed figures stand over 2 meters tall. Many depict warriors, archers, and boxers. They wear distinctive armor, carry shields, and hold bows or heavy gauntlets. Each statue features large circular eyes, carved as 2 concentric rings. The striking design gives them an unforgettable appearance, unlike any other ancient sculpture. Alongside the human figures, archaeologists uncovered stone models of nuragic towers, as well as carved beetle stones, sacred monuments believed to hold religious significance. Together, the statues and monuments formed part of an extensive funerary complex. Nearby excavations revealed rows of tombs, suggesting the sculptures once stood as guardians over an important burial ground. One of the greatest puzzles concerns their destruction. Every statue had been deliberately broken into numerous pieces before becoming buried. Heads, arms, shields, and torsos were shattered. Some researchers believe invading forces destroyed the monument during a period of conflict. Others suggest later communities intentionally dismantled the sculptures for reasons that remain unknown. Despite decades of study, no single explanation has been universally accepted. The restoration project proved almost as remarkable as the excavation itself. For years, experts carefully cleaned, cataloged, and matched thousands of stone fragments. Like an enormous 3-dimensional puzzle, each piece had to be identified before the statues could be rebuilt. Some figures were nearly complete. Others survived only in fragments. Even today, restoration work continues as new discoveries are made. The artistic style of the statues has sparked continuing debate. Some scholars see influences from Phoenician or Eastern Mediterranean traditions. Others argue the sculptures represent an entirely local artistic achievement developed by the nuragic people themselves. Whatever their inspiration, the figures are now recognized as the oldest known monumental statues in the Western Mediterranean, predating many famous classical Greek sculptures. Modern excavations continue to expand the site. Additional tombs, statue fragments, and architectural remains have been uncovered beyond the original excavation area. Each new discovery helps archaeologists better understand the society that created these remarkable monuments, though many questions still remain unanswered. Today, the stone statues of Monte Prama stand among Italy's greatest archaeological discoveries. Once buried beneath ordinary farmland, they now offer an extraordinary glimpse into a civilization that had almost vanished from history. Silent, powerful, and unmistakable. The Sacred Well of Santa Cristina. The Sacred Well of Santa Cristina lies quietly among olive trees in the heart of Sardinia. At first, it does not appear extraordinary. A low stone enclosure, a narrow stairway, and a small opening leading underground. Yet beneath the surface, one of the finest masterpieces of prehistoric engineering has survived for nearly 3,000 years, built without mortar, without concrete, and without modern tools. Its precision continues to astonish archaeologists today. The well was constructed by the Nuragic civilization, a culture that flourished across Sardinia between roughly 1800 and 900 BC. The Nuragic people are best known for building thousands of massive stone towers called nuraghi, but Santa Cristina reveals another side of their achievements. Instead of building upward, they built downward, creating a monument dedicated to one of humanity's most precious resources, fresh water. Visitors enter the monument through a carefully built trapezoidal entrance. From there, a staircase of 25 perfectly shaped basalt steps descends into darkness. Each stone was carefully cut and placed without mortar. Even after thousands of years, the walls remain remarkably stable. The staircase narrows as it approaches the water, creating a powerful sense of symmetry and balance. Every measurement appears deliberate. Nothing feels accidental. At the bottom, a small circular chamber surrounds the spring itself. Above it rises a beehive-shaped dome, constructed using overlapping rings of stone. This technique, known as corbelling, allowed ancient builders to create a strong roof without a central support. The stones gradually move inward until they meet at a single opening above. The structure is both elegant and remarkably durable. It has withstood earthquakes, storms, and centuries of neglect. The engineering becomes even more impressive when viewed from above. The staircase, the chamber, and the dome are aligned along a single central axis. Every block fits with extraordinary precision. Some joints are so finely crafted that inserting even a thin blade between the stones is difficult. For a monument built nearly 3,000 years ago, the quality of workmanship is exceptional. The purpose of the well has fascinated archaeologists for generations. It was almost certainly far more than a practical water source. Its monumental architecture, its careful alignment, and its ceremonial setting all suggest it served as a sacred place. Water was essential for survival in ancient Sardinia. It sustained crops, livestock, and entire communities by transforming a natural spring into a carefully designed monument. The Nuragic people may have been honoring the life-giving power of water itself. Excavations around Santa Cristina uncovered pottery, bronze objects, ceremonial offerings, and evidence that people visited the site repeatedly over many centuries. These discoveries suggest that rituals were performed here long after the monument was first constructed. Pilgrims may have traveled considerable distances to reach the spring, gathering for seasonal ceremonies, religious festivals, or acts of devotion that are now lost to history. One of the most remarkable features of Santa Cristina is its possible astronomical alignment. During certain times of the year, light enters through the opening at the top of the dome, illuminating the water below in a carefully controlled way. Researchers have also noted that during major lunar events, especially the moon's extreme standstill, moonlight can shine directly into the chamber. Whether this alignment was intentional remains debated. Some archaeologists believe the builders deliberately designed the monument to connect the heavens with the sacred spring. Others argue that more evidence is needed before reaching that conclusion. Either way, the possibility reflects the remarkable sophistication of its design. The surrounding sanctuary adds another layer to the story. Archaeologists have uncovered the remains of ancient meeting places, stone walls, and later structures built during the Roman and medieval periods. Generation after generation, people continued to return to this location. Although cultures changed, the spring itself remained. Important. Few sacred places maintain such continuity across so many centuries. The construction techniques continue to raise important questions. The basalt stones are large, heavy, and shaped with extraordinary accuracy. Without iron tools, without cranes, and without written engineering manuals. The builders created one of the most perfectly preserved underground monuments of prehistoric Europe. Exactly how they achieved such precision remains an active subject of study. The monument demonstrates that the Nuragic civilization possessed highly developed knowledge of geometry, stone masonry, and structural stability. Unlike many famous archaeological sites, Santa Cristina was never intended to dominate the landscape. Its greatest beauty is hidden below ground. The underground galleries of Chavin. The underground galleries of Chavin lie hidden beneath one of Peru's most extraordinary ancient temples. From the outside, the stone platform appears impressive enough. Massive terraces, monumental stairways, and carefully carved walls dominate the mountain valley. But the greatest achievement was never meant to be seen. It was built underground, a maze of narrow corridors, dark chambers, hidden passages, and carefully engineered tunnels, constructed nearly 3,000 years ago. Even today, many of these galleries remain unexplored. The site is known as Chavin de Huantar. It stands high in the Andes, where rivers flowing from different mountain ranges meet, long before the rise of the Inca Empire. This was one of the most important ceremonial centers in South America. Between roughly 1200 and 500 BC, pilgrims traveled from distant regions to visit its temples. Some crossed mountains, others followed river valleys. Many journeyed for days, perhaps even weeks, to reach this sacred place. For centuries, the temple continued to grow. Each generation added new buildings, new terraces, and new underground galleries. Rather than demolishing older structures, builders enclosed them inside newer construction. The result was a complex monument with multiple layers, each preserving part of the site's long history. Beneath those layers, the network of galleries expanded. Chatti. The underground passages were built with extraordinary care. Large granite blocks formed perfectly fitted walls. Stone ceilings stretched overhead. The corridors twisted, turned sharply, and often became extremely narrow. Some passages ended in hidden chambers. Others connected to rooms that received almost no natural light, without a guide. Moving through the galleries could quickly become confusing. Even modern archaeologists map the tunnels carefully before entering. One of the most famous chambers contains the Lanzon, a towering granite sculpture standing more than 4 meters high. The monument is carved with the image of a supernatural figure, combining human features with those of jaguars, snakes, and birds of prey. Unlike statues displayed in open plazas, the Lanzon was placed deep inside the temple. Visitors would have encountered it only after descending through the dark underground passages. The journey itself may have formed part of an important religious ceremony. The galleries were not built simply to hide sacred objects. They also demonstrate remarkable engineering. Channels beneath the temple carried water through the stone foundations. During the rainy season, flowing water echoed through the underground chambers. Some researchers believe the sound was deliberately amplified. As water rushed beneath the temple, the galleries may have filled with a deep roaring noise. For pilgrims unfamiliar with the structure, the sound would have seemed mysterious, almost supernatural. Archaeologists have also discovered sophisticated ventilation systems. Small openings allowed fresh air to circulate through parts of the underground complex. Without them, many chambers would have become difficult to enter. The builders clearly understood how air, water, and stone could work together. These practical solutions made the galleries usable while enhancing their ceremonial atmosphere. Excavations have uncovered carved stone heads, ceremonial objects, pottery, shell ornaments from the Pacific coast, and exotic materials brought from the Amazon rainforest. Their presence shows that Chavin attracted people from many different regions. The temple was more than a local shrine. It became a cultural meeting place, connecting distant communities across ancient Peru. Ideas, religious beliefs, and artistic traditions all pass through this mountain sanctuary. The purpose of the underground galleries continues to be studied. Some chambers may have stored sacred offerings. Others probably served as restricted ceremonial spaces entered only by priests. The darkness, the echoing water, the twisting passages, and the sudden appearance of sacred sculptures could have created an unforgettable experience for those allowed inside. Researchers believe architecture itself became part of the ritual. Every step, every sound, and every turn in the passageway may have carried symbolic meaning. Modern technology has revealed that the underground complex is even larger than archaeologists first believed. Laser scanning, three-dimensional mapping, and careful excavations continue to identify previously unknown passages hidden beneath the temple. Some galleries remain sealed, others have only recently become accessible after centuries of collapse. Each discovery expands our understanding of one of the oldest ceremonial centers in the Americas. The engineering of Chavin remains particularly impressive, without metal tools, without wheeled vehicles, and working in difficult mountain terrain. The burial mounds of Gamla Uppsala rise gently above the Swedish countryside, three enormous earth-covered hills surrounded by smaller mounds, ancient roads, and traces of long-lost buildings. To modern visitors, they appear peaceful, almost ordinary, but for more than 1,000 years. These hills have stood at the center of some of Scandinavia's greatest legends, a place where history, archaeology, and mythology meet. Gamla Uppsala lies just north of the modern city of Uppsala. Long before Stockholm became Sweden's capital, this was one of the most important political and religious centers in the region. Between the 5th and 11th centuries A.D., kings ruled here, assemblies gathered here, and major religious ceremonies were held here. The surrounding landscape became one of the most powerful symbols of early Scandinavian society. The three largest burial mounds dominate the site. Each rises nearly 10 meters high and measures between 50 and 70 meters across. Building monuments of this size required an enormous amount of labor, thousands of cubic meters of soil, stone, and turf had to be gathered and carefully shaped. Their construction reflects the authority of the people buried within them, or at least the importance later generations attached to their memory. For centuries, the identity of those buried beneath the mounds remained unknown. According to medieval Icelandic traditions, the hills held the graves of legendary Swedish kings. Among the names mentioned were Aun, Egil, and Adils. Rulers celebrated in Norse sagas long before written history reached Scandinavia. Whether these traditions preserve genuine memories or later legends remains uncertain. Archaeology cannot confirm the identities of the individuals buried there, but the stories reveal how deeply these monuments influenced Scandinavian culture. The first scientific excavations began during the 19th century, in 1847. Archaeologists opened one of the great mounds. Inside, they discovered the remains of an elaborate cremation burial, fragments of weapons, decorated helmets, gold ornaments, glass vessels, gaming pieces, and animal bones had survived among the ashes. The richness of the grave demonstrated that the deceased belonged to the highest levels of society. Later excavations of the remaining great mounds revealed similarly impressive burials. The discoveries also challenged earlier assumptions. Instead of intact skeletons, the dead had been cremated. Their ashes were carefully collected, placed within the burial chamber, and covered beneath enormous earthworks, alongside human remains. Archaeologists found horses, dogs, birds, and other animals that had been sacrificed as part of the funeral ceremony. These offerings suggest complex beliefs about death, status, and the journey into the afterlife. The burial goods came from many different places. Some glass vessels originated within the Roman world or its trading networks. Luxury objects reflected contacts extending across northern Europe. These discoveries demonstrate that Scandinavia was far from isolated during the migration period. Trade routes carried valuable materials over remarkable distances. Ideas, craftsmanship, and prestige objects all reached Gamla Uppsala centuries before the Viking Age reached its height. The mounds were only one part of a much larger ceremonial landscape. Archaeologists uncovered traces of enormous wooden halls nearby. Some measured more than 50 meters in length. These buildings likely served as royal residences, feasting halls, or gathering places for political assemblies. Excavations also revealed ancient roads, terraces, and evidence of repeated rebuilding over hundreds of years. Gamla Uppsala was not simply a cemetery, it was a thriving center of power. Historical sources add another layer to the mystery. In the 11th century, the German chronicler Adam of Bremen described a magnificent pagan temple at Uppsala. He wrote of golden decorations, sacred ceremonies, and great festivals held every 9 years. According to his account, animals were sacrificed and their bodies displayed within a nearby sacred grove. The stone tombs of Cueva de Menga rest beneath the hills of southern Spain, near the ancient town of Antequera. From the outside, the monument resembles nothing more than a grassy mound. Quiet, simple, almost invisible against the landscape. But hidden beneath that hill lies one of the largest and most remarkable prehistoric stone tombs ever built in Europe, a chamber so vast that even today, its construction raises questions about the people who created it more than 5,000 years ago. The Cueva de Menga, often simply called the Menga Dolmen, was built between approximately 3,800 and 3,600 BC. That makes it older than Stonehenge, and older than the Egyptian pyramids. It belongs to the Neolithic period, when farming communities were spreading across the Iberian Peninsula. These early societies had no iron tools, no wheeled vehicles, and no written language. Yet they accomplished an engineering project on an extraordinary scale. The entrance opens into a long stone corridor, leading toward an enormous burial chamber. Unlike many prehistoric tombs, the interior feels surprisingly spacious. Massive upright stones support gigantic stone roof slabs overhead. Some of the capstones weigh well over 100 tons. Simply moving them into position would have required remarkable planning, careful coordination, and hundreds of workers, even today. Researchers continue to debate exactly how this was achieved. Inside, the chamber stretches nearly 27 meters in length. It is among the largest megalithic interiors anywhere in Europe. 3 enormous central pillars help support the ceiling, allowing the builders to span an unusually wide space. These pillars were carved directly from natural stone, positioned with remarkable precision, and remain standing after more than 5 millennia. The engineering has endured earthquakes, changing climates, and countless generations. The monument was constructed using enormous sandstone blocks. Many were transported from quarries located some distance away, without cranes, metal machinery, or draft animals capable of carrying such immense loads. The builders likely relied on wooden rollers, earthen ramps, ropes, and carefully organized teams of workers. Every stage demanded patience, skill, and an impressive understanding of weight and balance. The tomb demonstrates that Neolithic communities possessed far greater engineering abilities than once believed. Excavations inside the chamber have uncovered human remains, stone tools, ceramic vessels, and burial offerings. These discoveries confirm that Menga served as a communal burial monument over many generations, unlike later royal tombs built for individual rulers. The chamber welcomed repeated burials. Entire communities returned here, honoring their dead within the same sacred space, century after century. One feature makes Menga especially unusual. Most European megalithic tombs face the rising sun, especially toward the east. Menga does not. Instead, its entrance points toward a distinctive mountain known today as Peña de los Enamorados. The mountain rises dramatically above the surrounding landscape, its profile resembling a human face lying on its back. For generations, researchers wondered why the builders ignored the traditional solar alignment. The answer may lie in the mountain itself. Recent archaeological research suggests that Peña de los Enamorados held deep symbolic importance. Excavations on the mountain uncovered prehistoric occupation, rock shelters, and evidence of ritual activity dating back thousands of years. Rather than aligning their monument with the sunrise, the builders may have intentionally connected the tomb with this sacred natural landmark. If true, it reveals a worldview in which mountains, ancestors, and the landscape itself were closely connected. Another remarkable discovery lies inside the monument, near the rear of the burial chamber. Archaeologists identified a deep shaft extending into the ground. The well reaches nearly 20 meters below the floor. Its exact purpose remains uncertain. Some researchers believe it provided access to groundwater. Others suggest it held symbolic or ritual significance. Whatever its function, the feature is highly unusual among European megalithic tombs. It adds yet another mystery to an already extraordinary structure. The surrounding landscape forms part of a much larger prehistoric complex. Nearby stand the dolmens of Viera and El Romeral, the jungle capital of Kokere. The jungle capital of Kokere lies deep within the forests of northern Cambodia. For centuries, trees wrapped themselves around its temples. Roots split ancient stone walls. Dense vegetation concealed roads, shrines, and towering monuments. From above, the jungle appeared almost untouched, yet beneath its green canopy, an entire royal capital had been waiting to be rediscovered. Kokere was once one of the greatest cities of the Khmer Empire, around AD 928. King Jayavarman IV made the remarkable decision to move the royal capital away from Angkor. Instead, he established his court here, more than 80 kilometers to the northeast, although Kokere served as the capital for only about 2 decades. The scale of construction during that short period was extraordinary. Dozens of temples, reservoirs, causeways, and ceremonial buildings rose from the forest. It became one of the most ambitious building projects in Southeast Asian history. Today, archaeologists have identified more than 180 ancient structures across the surrounding landscape. Many remain partially hidden beneath thick vegetation. Others survive only as scattered foundations. Together, they reveal a carefully planned city connected by roads, water systems, and religious monuments. Far from being an isolated temple complex, Kokere was once a thriving urban center. The most striking monument is Prasat Tom, the city's principal temple. At its heart rises a 7-tiered pyramid. Unlike any other major Khmer temple, instead of the familiar towers seen at Angkor, this monument climbs upward in broad stone terraces. Standing over 35 meters high, it dominates the surrounding forest. Its shape has often been compared to a giant stepped pyramid. Archaeologists believe the pyramid supported an enormous sanctuary at its summit. Historical inscriptions suggest that a gigantic sacred linga, a symbol associated with the Hindu god Shiva, once stood at the highest point. The monument would have been visible across much of the surrounding landscape, serving as both a religious symbol and a statement of royal authority. Although the shrine itself has disappeared, the pyramid remains one of the finest surviving examples of early Khmer architecture. Excavations throughout Kokere have uncovered remarkable sculptures, massive statues of gods, guardians, lions, garudas, and mythical creatures once lined the temples. Many were carved from enormous blocks of sandstone. Some stood several meters tall. Their craftsmanship reflects the exceptional artistic skill of Khmer sculptors during the 10th century. Unfortunately, many of these masterpieces were looted during the 20th century. For decades, important sculptures disappeared into private collections and museums around the world. In recent years, international investigations have helped recover several stolen statues. Some of the most famous pieces, including monumental guardian figures, have been returned to Cambodia after lengthy legal efforts. Their return has allowed archaeologists to better understand the original layout of the temples. It has also restored an important part of Cambodia's cultural heritage. The city was supported by an advanced hydraulic system. Large reservoirs collected seasonal rainfall. Stone-lined channels directed water toward agricultural land and nearby communities. Like the builders of Angkor, the engineers of Ko Kher understood that controlling water was essential for sustaining a large population. The surviving reservoirs demonstrate careful planning and impressive knowledge of landscape engineering. Modern technology has dramatically changed our understanding of Ko Kher. For many years, researchers could only investigate monuments visible above ground. Then came airborne laser scanning, known as LiDAR. By sending millions of laser pulses through gaps in the forest canopy, scientists created detailed maps of the hidden landscape below. The results were astonishing. Previously unknown roads, canals, earthworks, residential areas, and additional temples emerged from beneath the jungle. The technology revealed that Ko Kher was far larger than anyone had imagined. Despite its rapid rise, the city did not remain the Khmer capital for long. Following the death of Jayavarman IV, the royal court eventually returned to Angkor. Construction slowed. Political attention shifted elsewhere. The sky disk craftsman of Nebra. The sky disk of Nebra was hidden beneath a wooded hill in central Germany. For thousands of years, it lay buried alongside bronze swords, axes, arm rings, and ancient tools. No one knew it existed. Then, in 1999, two illegal treasure hunters uncovered one of the most extraordinary archaeological discoveries ever made in Europe, a bronze disc. About 32 centimeters across, decorated with brilliant gold symbols that appeared to represent the heavens. It would completely change our understanding of Bronze Age Europe. The discovery took place near the town of Nebra, in the German state of Saxony-Anhalt. Unfortunately, the excavation was carried out without archaeological supervision. The treasure hunters damaged the disc while removing it from the ground. Afterward, the objects were sold through the black market for several years. Their true origin remained uncertain. Only after an undercover police operation in Switzerland during 2002 were the artifacts finally recovered. Their return allowed archaeologists to begin studying the remarkable discovery properly. The sky disk was found together with two bronze swords, two axes, a chisel, fragments of arm spirals, and other valuable objects. These items had been deliberately buried together around 1600 BC. The collection appears to have been placed in the ground as a ceremonial deposit rather than an ordinary grave. Why it was buried remains unknown. Some researchers suggest it was a sacred offering. Others believe it marked the end of the object's ritual use. Whatever the reason, the burial preserved it for more than 3,600 years. The disc itself is unlike anything previously discovered from Bronze Age Europe. Its surface consists of bronze, covered with thin sheets of gold carefully attached to the metal. The earliest design included a large circular gold plate, a crescent shape, and dozens of tiny gold circles. Most scholars interpret the large circle as either the sun or a full moon. The crescent likely represents the moon in another phase. The smaller circles are widely believed to depict stars. One cluster of 7 closely grouped stars almost certainly represents the Pleiades, a constellation recognized by cultures across the ancient world. The craftsmanship is extraordinary. Bronze workers first cast the disc, then carefully hammered and polished its surface. Thin sheets of gold were shaped with remarkable precision before being fixed into shallow recesses cut into the bronze. Later, the design was modified several times. Additional gold arcs were added along the edges. Another curved band appeared near the bottom. Each alteration reflects changing ideas rather than simple decoration. The disc evolved over generations. The two golden arcs positioned along the edges have attracted particular attention. Researchers discovered that the angle between them closely matches the distance between the points where the sun rises and sets during the summer and winter solstices at Nebra's latitude. If this interpretation is correct, the disc could have served as a practical astronomical guide. By observing the sun against the horizon, its owner may have been able to determine important moments in the yearly calendar. Such knowledge would have helped farming communities know when to plant, harvest, and hold seasonal ceremonies. The final addition appears near the bottom of the disc. It resembles a gently curved boat. Many archaeologists interpret it as a solar bark, a symbolic vessel carrying the sun across the sky. Similar ideas appear in ancient Egyptian beliefs, although there is no evidence of direct borrowing. Instead, the symbol may reflect a widespread human attempt to explain the movement of heavenly bodies across the horizon. Its exact meaning remains uncertain. The sky disk reveals that Bronze Age Europe possessed far more sophisticated astronomical knowledge than previously believed. For many years, historians assumed that detailed observations of the heavens developed mainly in the civilizations of Egypt, Mesopotamia, and the Eastern Mediterranean. Nebra challenged that assumption. The craftsman who created this object clearly understood recurring celestial patterns, seasonal cycles, and the importance of preserving that knowledge, whether the disk functioned as a teaching tool, a ceremonial object, or both. It demonstrates remarkable intellectual achievement. The people who made the sky disk left no written records. Their knowledge passed from one generation to the next through observation, memory, and skilled craftsmanship. The bronze itself came from distant mining regions. Scientific analysis suggests that the copper originated in the Eastern Alps, while much of the gold likely came from Cornwall in Britain. The painted monastery of Ajina Tepe. The painted monastery of Ajina Tepe rises from a quiet hill in southern Tajikistan. Today, only weathered mud brick walls remain, broken corridors, collapsed rooms, and scattered fragments of ancient sculptures lie beneath the open sky. At first glance, it seems like little more than an abandoned ruin, but beneath centuries of earth, archaeologists uncovered one of Central Asia's greatest Buddhist discoveries, a monastery filled with vibrant paintings, graceful sculptures, and a colossal reclining Buddha unlike any ever found in the region. Ajina Tepe was built during the 7th and 8th centuries A.D. At that time, this part of Central Asia formed an important crossroads along the Silk Road. Merchants, pilgrims, and monks traveled between India, China, Persia, and the Mediterranean. Ideas moved alongside silk, spices, and precious metals. Among the most influential of those ideas was Buddhism. Ajina Tepe became one of the faith's important monastic centers in the region. The monastery was carefully planned. Its buildings surrounded two large courtyards. One served as the religious heart of the complex, containing temples, shrines, and sacred spaces. The other functioned as the residential area, where monks lived, studied, meditated, and carried out their daily routines. More than 100 rooms have been identified through excavation. Together, they formed a thriving spiritual community. The monastery was constructed mainly from sun-dried mud bricks. Although less durable than stone, the material was well suited to the local climate. Walls were coated with fine plaster, providing smooth surfaces for elaborate decoration. Artists covered many of those walls with colorful murals, bright reds, deep blues, White, black, and ochre pigments transformed ordinary rooms into richly decorated sacred spaces. Although many paintings survive only in fragments, they still reveal remarkable artistic skill. The murals depict Buddhas, bodhisattvas, monks, celestial beings, floral designs, and geometric patterns. Some figures wear flowing robes with graceful folds. Others display delicate facial expressions painted with extraordinary care. Their style reflects influences from both India and Central Asia, showing how artistic traditions blended along the Silk Road. Every painting tells part of a much larger story about cultural exchange across ancient Eurasia. The site's greatest discovery came during Soviet archaeological excavations in 1966. While clearing collapsed debris from one section of the monastery, archaeologists uncovered enormous fragments of a reclining Buddha. The statue had broken into hundreds of pieces after the building collapsed centuries earlier. At first, few realized how large it had originally been. Patient excavation continued for months. Each fragment was carefully documented, numbered, and transported for conservation. The reconstruction proved to be an extraordinary challenge. Experts spent years studying broken sections of clay, plaster, and painted surfaces. Gradually, the scattered fragments came together. The completed figure measured approximately 13 meters in length. It depicts the Buddha lying peacefully on his right side, representing the moment of parinirvana, the final passing beyond the cycle of rebirth. It remains the largest known reclining Buddha discovered in Central Asia. The statue was not carved from a single block of stone. Instead, its builders created a framework using wood, clay, and straw. Layer upon layer of fine plaster shaped the body. Finally, artists applied colorful pigments across the finished surface. The result was both monumental and surprisingly delicate. Despite centuries underground, traces of its original colors still survive. They offer a rare glimpse into the brilliant appearance the monastery once possessed. Excavations also uncovered hundreds of smaller sculptures. Many represented seated Buddhas, standing monks, protective deities, or devotional figures placed throughout the monastery. Fragments of painted stucco decorations, ceramic vessels, coins, and inscriptions helped archaeologists reconstruct daily life inside the complex. Together, these discoveries reveal that Ajina Tepe was far more than a simple place of worship. It functioned as a center of education, religious practice, and artistic production. The site where an entire colony disappeared without explanation. The Roanoke Colony once stood on a small island along the coast of present-day North Carolina. Today, only quiet forests, marshes, and gentle shoreline remain. No abandoned houses survive, no streets, no graves that can be confidently linked to every settler. Just one word, carved into a wooden post: Croatoan. It became one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, not because people simply vanished, but because the evidence they left behind has never told a complete story. The story began in 1587. England hoped to establish its first permanent colony in North America. Under the leadership of Governor John White, a group of about 115 settlers crossed the Atlantic. Among them were men, women, and children. Unlike earlier military expeditions, this was intended to become a lasting community. Homes were built, gardens were planted. The settlers prepared for a new life, far from England. Only weeks after arriving, the colony faced serious shortages. Food was limited. Relations with some nearby indigenous groups were uncertain. The settlers urged John White to sail back to England for additional supplies. Although reluctant to leave, he agreed. Before departing, plans were made in case the colonists needed to relocate. If they moved peacefully, they would carve the name of their destination into a tree or wooden post. If they were forced away by violence, they would add the image of a cross beside the message. White reached England, but events beyond his control delayed his return. War with Spain dominated English attention. Ships were needed for the conflict with the Spanish Armada. Years passed before White finally secured a vessel capable of crossing the Atlantic again. When he returned to Roanoke in 1590, the settlement was silent. Every house had disappeared. The fortifications had been dismantled. No people remained. Only a few clues were left behind. The word Croatoan had been carefully carved into a wooden post nearby. The shorter word CRO appeared carved into a tree. Importantly, no distress cross accompanied either message to White. This suggested the settlers had not been attacked suddenly. Instead, they may have relocated voluntarily. Unfortunately, storms prevented him from sailing to nearby Croatoan Island, known today as Hatteras Island. The search ended almost before it truly began. For centuries, the mystery inspired endless speculation. Some believed the colonists had been killed. Others imagined disease, famine, or even supernatural explanations. Modern archaeology paints a more careful picture. While many questions remain, researchers increasingly believe the settlers may have dispersed among friendly indigenous communities rather than disappearing all at once. Excavations at the original Roanoke site have uncovered everyday objects from the late 16th century: fragments of pottery, iron nails, copper artifacts, gunflints, and building materials confirm the location of the English settlement. Archaeologists have also identified defensive earthworks, helping reconstruct how the colony was organized. Yet surprisingly little evidence points to a violent end. No mass graves have been discovered. No widespread signs of destruction have appeared. Attention gradually shifted beyond Roanoke itself. Excavations on Hatteras Island uncovered European artifacts dating to the same period. Among them were iron tools, copper items, fragments of firearms, and ceramics associated with early English settlers. These discoveries suggest contact between colonists and the Croatoan people. Whether some settlers permanently joined that community remains uncertain, but the archaeological evidence makes peaceful integration increasingly plausible. Another intriguing investigation began after historians re-examined one of John White's own maps. Hidden beneath a small patch on the map, researchers discovered the outline of what appeared to be a planned inland fort. This led archaeologists to search an area now known as Site X, located farther inland near the Albemarle Sound. Excavations recovered fragments of English pottery, food storage jars, and other 16th century artifacts. Some scholars argue these finds could represent a small group of Roanoke survivors. Others believe the evidence is too limited to reach firm conclusions. The debate continues. Archaeology has also revealed important details about the indigenous communities living in the region. Long before English ships arrived, complex societies already occupied the coastal landscape. Trade networks connected villages across great distances. Agriculture, fishing, and hunting supported thriving populations. Understanding these communities has become essential to solving the Roanoke mystery. If the settlers survived, they almost certainly depended upon indigenous knowledge to adapt to an unfamiliar environment. Modern technology continues to aid the search: ground-penetrating radar, remote sensing, careful excavation, and laboratory analysis allow archaeologists. The rock tombs of Kaunos watch silently over the Dalyan River in southwestern Turkey, high above the water. Their grand stone facades emerge from sheer limestone cliffs. From a distance, they resemble temples suspended in the mountainside, windows without rooms, doorways leading nowhere, silent monuments carved directly into solid rock more than 2,000 years ago. Even today, they remain among the most striking funerary monuments of the ancient world. The ancient city of Kaunos was founded near the border between the regions of Caria and Lycia. Its location placed it along important trade routes connecting the Mediterranean with inland Anatolia. Merchants, sailors, craftsmen, and travelers passed through its busy harbor for centuries. The city prospered through maritime trade, agriculture, and regional commerce. As its wealth increased, its rulers commissioned elaborate tombs that would dominate the surrounding landscape long after their deaths. Most of the famous rock-cut tombs were created during the 4th century BC. They belonged to members of Kaunos' elite, powerful families whose status continued beyond death. Rather than building freestanding mausoleums, stone masons carved burial chambers directly into the cliff face. The work demanded remarkable precision. Every mistake meant permanently damaging the mountain itself. There was no opportunity to replace a misplaced stone. The mountain became both building material and final monument. The facades imitate the appearance of wooden temples. Columns support triangular pediments. Doorways stand at the center. Architectural details carefully reproduce construction techniques that originally developed in timber. Although carved from limestone, the tombs preserve the memory of much older wooden buildings that have long since disappeared. They offer archaeologists valuable insight into architectural styles otherwise lost to history. Creating these monuments required extraordinary skill. Workers first cut narrow pathways across the cliff. Scaffolding made from timber allowed masons to reach the nearly vertical rock face, using iron chisels, hammers, and wedges. They gradually removed enormous quantities of stone. The work likely took months, perhaps even years. For a single tomb, every column, every decorative molding, and every doorway had to be carved with remarkable accuracy high above the valley floor. Behind the impressive facades lie relatively simple burial chambers. Stone benches line the interior walls, serving as places where the deceased were laid to rest. Some tombs held a single individual. Others received multiple family burials over time. Although many chambers were robbed in antiquity, archaeologists have still recovered fragments of pottery, human remains, jewelry, coins, and funerary offerings from the surrounding necropolis. These discoveries help reconstruct burial customs practiced by the people of Kaunos. The placement of the tombs was no accident. High upon the cliffs, they overlooked both the ancient city and the river below. Their commanding position made them visible from great distances. Travelers approaching Kaunos by boat would have immediately seen the monumental facades watching over the landscape. The tombs projected power, prestige, and the lasting influence of the city's ruling families. Even in death, their presence remained impossible to ignore. Kaunos itself contains far more than its famous cliff tombs. Excavations have uncovered a theater, temples, Roman baths, market buildings, city walls, harbor facilities, and an extensive network of streets. The city reflects centuries of changing influence, including Carian, Persian, Hellenistic, Roman, and Byzantine periods. Each civilization left its own architectural layer, creating one of Turkey's richest archaeological landscapes. Systematic archaeological excavations began during the 20th century, led primarily by Turkish archaeologists. Year after year, researchers carefully uncovered buried structures while documenting inscriptions, ceramics, coins, sculptures, and everyday objects. These discoveries transformed Kaunos from a picturesque ruin into one of the best understood ancient cities along the Anatolian coast. Modern excavation continues to reveal new information about urban planning, trade, religion, and daily life. The surrounding environment has changed dramatically since antiquity. In ancient times, Kaunos stood beside an active seaport connected directly to the Mediterranean over thousands of years. Sediment carried by the Dalian River gradually filled the harbor. Wetlands expanded. The coastline shifted farther away. Today, the city lies several kilometers inland. This remarkable geological transformation helps explain why once busy harbors now overlook quiet marshes instead of open sea. Preserving the rock tombs presents ongoing challenges: wind, rain, temperature changes, and natural erosion slowly wear away the limestone surface. The great earthworks of Poverty Point stretch across the quiet landscape of northeastern Louisiana from ground level. They appear as gentle ridges rising from open fields. Nothing about them immediately suggests an ancient wonder, but viewed from the sky, a remarkable pattern emerges. 6 enormous concentric earth ridges, connected by broad aisles, surround a massive central plaza. Nearby, towering mounds rise above the landscape. Together, they form one of the largest prehistoric earthwork complexes ever built in North America. Poverty Point was constructed between approximately 1700 and 1100 BC. That makes it older than the great Maya cities, older than many famous monuments of ancient Greece, and nearly contemporary with the later phases of Egypt's New Kingdom. At a time when most people assume North America's inhabitants lived only in small, scattered communities, the builders of Poverty Point created an enormous ceremonial landscape unlike anything else on the continent. The site covers more than 400 acres. Its 6 sweeping ridges curve around a vast central plaza measuring nearly 37 acres. The ridges originally stood several meters high and may have supported houses, workshops, and gathering places. Wide passageways divided the rings into sections, allowing people to move easily between different parts of the settlement. The entire design reflects careful planning rather than gradual, unorganized growth. The most impressive feature is Mound A, standing more than 20 meters high. It remains one of the largest prehistoric earthen monuments in North America. Its unusual shape has often been compared to a giant bird in flight. Although this interpretation remains debated, the mound required an astonishing volume of soil. Millions of basket loads of earth were carried by hand. There were no wheeled vehicles, no draft animals, only human effort, organization, and determination. For many years, archaeologists believed such a project would have required centuries to complete. Recent research tells a different story. Studies of soil layers suggest that parts of Mound A may have been built within only a few months. If correct, thousands of people must have worked together in a highly coordinated effort. The discovery challenges long-held assumptions about the organizational abilities of hunter-gatherer societies. Unlike many later civilizations, the people of Poverty Point did not rely primarily on farming. Instead, they lived by hunting, fishing, gathering wild plants, and harvesting the rich natural resources of the Mississippi Valley. Despite this lifestyle, they created one of the most sophisticated ceremonial centers in prehistoric North America. Their achievement demonstrates that large-scale engineering did not always depend upon agriculture. Excavations have uncovered thousands of remarkable artifacts: stone spear points, drilling tools, polished stone beads, clay cooking balls, pipes, and decorative objects appear throughout the site. Many of these materials originated hundreds, or even thousands, of kilometers away. Copper arrived from the Great Lakes. Soapstone came from the Appalachian Mountains. Chert traveled from the Ohio Valley. These discoveries reveal an enormous trade network stretching across much of eastern North America. One of the site's most unusual discoveries is the abundance of small baked clay objects, known as Poverty Point objects. These hand-shaped pieces were likely heated in fires before being placed into cooking pits. They stored heat efficiently, allowing food to cook slowly without direct flames. Although simple in appearance, they represent an ingenious solution developed long before pottery became common in the region. Thousands have been recovered during excavations. Modern archaeology has transformed our understanding of the site. Early aerial photography first revealed the full geometry of the earthworks, showing patterns almost impossible to recognize from ground level. Later, ground surveys, remote sensing, magnetometry, and LiDAR mapping exposed additional features buried beneath the soil. Researchers have identified post holes, ancient hearths, storage areas, and evidence of repeated construction phases. Every new survey helps archaeologists reconstruct how this extraordinary landscape functioned. Exactly why Poverty Point was built remains one of archaeology's enduring questions. Some researchers believe it served as a permanent settlement. Others argue it functioned primarily as a ceremonial gathering place where thousands of people assembled during important seasonal events. It may have been both. The site's carefully designed layout suggests that ritual, trade, social interaction, and everyday life were closely connected, whatever its precise purpose. Poverty Point clearly held exceptional importance for the people who built it. The earthworks remained largely forgotten for centuries. Natural vegetation slowly covered the ridges. Farming altered parts of the landscape, yet the overall design survived remarkably well. Systematic archaeological excavations during the 20th century, the stone reliefs of Nemrud, stand upon the summit of a lonely mountain in southeastern Turkey, more than 2,000 meters above sea level. Colossal stone heads gaze silently across the horizon. Some face the rising sun, others watch the western sky. Their bodies remain seated upon massive thrones, but their heads have fallen, scattered across the rocky terraces like silent guardians of a forgotten kingdom. Few archaeological sites are as dramatic or as mysterious as Nemrud Dağı. The monument was created during the 1st century BC by King Antiochus I of Commagene. His small kingdom lay between powerful empires, including Rome and Parthia. Rather than choosing one tradition over another, Antiochus blended Greek, Persian, and local Anatolian beliefs into a unique royal religion. High on Mount Nemrud, he ordered the construction of an enormous sacred sanctuary that would celebrate both the gods and his own divine ancestry. At the center of the complex rises a vast artificial burial mound, known as a tumulus. It measures roughly 50 meters in height and more than 100 meters across. Millions of crushed limestone stones were piled together to form the mound. Although it is widely believed that King Antiochus was buried somewhere beneath it, no burial chamber has ever been found. The loose stone covering has made excavation extremely difficult. The mountain still guards one of its greatest secrets. The sanctuary was built around 3 principal terraces: the East Terrace, the West Terrace, and a smaller northern terrace connected by ancient processional pathways. Among them, the East Terrace is the most impressive. Here, a row of enormous seated statues once overlooked the sunrise. Each originally stood between 8 and 9 meters high. Behind them rose massive stone thrones carved directly from limestone blocks. The statues represent a remarkable mixture of cultures. Zeus appears alongside the Persian god Ahura Mazda. Apollo is combined with Mithras and Helios. Heracles stands nearby. At the center sits King Antiochus himself. The arrangement reflects the ruler's attempt to unite different traditions into a single royal ideology, rather than separating Greek and Persian beliefs. The sculptures present them side by side as equals. It was an extraordinary political and religious statement. One of the most striking features of Nemrud is the condition of the statues today. The giant seated bodies remain largely intact. Their heads, some weighing several tons, now rest upon the ground in front of them. For centuries, people wondered why they had fallen. Earthquakes are considered the most likely explanation. Repeated seismic activity gradually weakened the monuments until the massive heads separated from their bodies. Despite their collapse, the sculptures remain astonishingly well preserved. The relief carvings surrounding the terraces are equally remarkable. Stone slabs depict King Antiochus shaking hands with various deities. These scenes, known as Dexiosis reliefs, symbolize the king's claimed relationship with the gods. Other reliefs portray his ancestors, linking his family line to both Persian kings and Alexander the Great through carefully constructed royal genealogy. The monuments were designed to reinforce his legitimacy as a ruler chosen by divine forces. Archaeologists have also discovered long Greek inscriptions carved into the stone, known as the nomos. These texts record Antiochus's religious instructions. They describe festivals, ceremonies, offerings, and the proper maintenance of the sanctuary after his death. Few ancient rulers left such detailed explanations of how they wished to be remembered. The inscriptions transform the monument into both a royal tomb and a written declaration of political ambition. Although local people had known about the mountain for generations, the sanctuary became widely known to scholars in 1881. German engineer Karl Sester visited the summit while surveying the region, recognizing the extraordinary sculptures. He reported the discovery to archaeologists. Soon afterward, systematic investigations began. German archaeologist Otto Puchstein carried out some of the earliest detailed studies, followed by numerous international research teams throughout the 20th century. Modern archaeological work continues to reveal new details: laser scanning, drone photography, three-dimensional modeling, and geological surveys have improved understanding of the terraces and their construction. Researchers continue studying tool marks, stone sources, and weathering patterns. Geophysical investigations have also attempted to locate the hidden burial chamber beneath the tumulus. So far, no confirmed royal tomb has been reached. Whether it survives untouched remains one of the site's greatest unanswered questions. The exposed mountain environment presents constant challenges: heavy snowfall, strong winds, freezing temperatures, and seasonal temperature changes slowly erode the limestone sculptures. Conservation teams carefully monitor cracks, surface damage, and natural deterioration. In 1987, Nemrud Dağ was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The ruins where a king's tomb was found, completely looted overnight. The tomb of Amenemhat lies hidden within the ancient royal cemetery of Egypt. Unlike many famous tombs, it did not become legendary because of the treasures it contained. It became famous because, when archaeologists reached it, almost everything of value had already disappeared. The royal burial had been stripped clean by tomb robbers thousands of years before. Yet even an empty tomb can tell an extraordinary story. Amenemhat III ruled Egypt during the 12th dynasty. Around 1850 BC, his reign marked one of the high points of Egypt's Middle Kingdom. The kingdom prospered through trade, engineering, and large-scale construction projects. Among his greatest achievements were irrigation works in the Fayum region, strengthening agriculture and increasing Egypt's wealth. Like every pharaoh, Amenemhat also prepared carefully for eternity. His burial monument would reflect both royal power and religious belief. Rather than building another massive pyramid on the Giza Plateau, Amenemhat III constructed his principal pyramid at Hawara, south of modern Cairo. Ancient writers later described the enormous temple complex beside it as the legendary labyrinth. Greek historian Herodotus claimed it contained countless halls and chambers, so impressive that it surpassed even the pyramids themselves. Although much of the complex has disappeared, archaeological excavations confirm that it was once among Egypt's largest monumental buildings. Beneath the pyramid, engineers created an elaborate underground burial system: long corridors, massive stone blocks, hidden chambers, and carefully designed passages protected the royal burial. The burial chamber itself was carved from a single enormous block of quartzite weighing well over 100 tons. Its lid alone weighed many tons. Transporting and positioning such stones demanded extraordinary engineering skill. The monument was designed to defeat anyone attempting to enter. Yet someone succeeded. At some point during antiquity, tomb robbers found their way inside. Exactly when the robbery occurred remains uncertain. It may have happened during a period of political instability, when royal authority weakened and ancient cemeteries became vulnerable. The thieves worked with remarkable efficiency. By the time they left, most precious objects had vanished: gold, jewelry, royal ornaments, and valuable burial equipment were gone. The carefully protected tomb had been emptied. For generations, people imagined dramatic scenes of thieves breaking through walls in a single night. The reality was probably more complicated. Many Egyptian tomb robberies required careful planning, knowledge of underground passages, and access to specialized tools. Some robberies may even have involved corrupt officials or workers familiar with the tomb's original construction. Ancient Egyptian court records from other periods reveal that organized tomb robbery was a serious problem. especially during times of economic hardship. Modern excavations began during the 19th century. British archaeologist Sir Flinders Petrie carried out extensive work at Hawara in the late 1800s. Carefully clearing the buried passages, he documented the pyramid, its surrounding structures, and the complex engineering hidden beneath the monument. Although the royal treasures had disappeared long before, the architecture itself became one of the excavation's greatest discoveries. The burial chamber revealed remarkable construction techniques. Massive quartzite blocks fit together with astonishing precision. Narrow passages, blocking stones, and intricate layouts demonstrated how seriously the ancient Egyptians protected their kings. Even after the robbery, archaeologists could still reconstruct the sophisticated design intended to keep intruders away forever. Ironically, the defensive system survived better than the treasures it had failed to protect. Excavations also uncovered fragments left behind by the robbers, broken pottery, pieces of wooden coffins, stone vessel fragments, and scattered remains of burial equipment helped researchers reconstruct what once filled the chamber. Although incomplete, these objects reveal the richness that originally surrounded the king. Even small fragments become valuable evidence when the larger story has disappeared. Nearby, archaeologists investigated the remains of the vast mortuary temple once attached to the pyramid. Rows of columns, foundation walls, courtyards, and architectural fragments confirm the enormous scale described by ancient visitors. The structure served both as a religious center and as a place where priests maintained the cult of the deceased king. For centuries, pilgrims and officials likely visited the complex before it gradually fell into ruin. The pyramid itself suffered additional damage over time. Earthquakes, groundwater, stone robbing, and natural collapse affected many underground passages. Modern conservation faces constant challenges. Engineers carefully monitor the structure while archaeologists continue documenting areas that remain difficult to access. New technologies, including laser scanning, digital mapping, and structural analysis. The lost highland city of Ollantaytambo rises from the sacred valley of Peru. Steep stone terraces climb the mountainsides. Narrow streets still follow their original paths. Massive walls fit together with astonishing precision. Unlike many ancient cities, Ollantaytambo was never completely abandoned. People still live among its Inca streets, making it one of the oldest continuously occupied settlements in the Americas. It is a place where archaeology and everyday life exist side by side. Ollantaytambo flourished during the 15th century under the Inca Emperor Pachacuti. As the ruler who transformed the kingdom of Cusco into a vast empire, Pachacuti ordered the construction of royal estates, ceremonial centers, and fortified settlements throughout the Andes. Ollantaytambo became one of his greatest achievements. It served as a royal residence, an important religious center, and a strategic gateway protecting the sacred valley. Every structure reflected careful planning and remarkable engineering. The city was built high within a narrow mountain valley, rather than forcing the landscape to change. The Inca carefully adapted their architecture to the natural terrain. Hillsides became agricultural terraces. Streams were redirected into stone canals. Buildings followed the contours of the mountains. The result was a settlement that appeared to grow naturally from the rock itself. Even today, its harmony with the surrounding landscape remains one of its most remarkable features. The enormous agricultural terraces dominate the eastern hillside, constructed from finely fitted stone retaining walls. They created level fields capable of supporting crops at high elevations. The terraces also controlled erosion, improved drainage, and reduced the risk of landslides. Far beyond simple farming, they demonstrated the Inca understanding of mountain engineering. Many continue to function more than 500 years after they were built. Above the terraces lies the Temple Hill, home to some of the site's most impressive monuments. The unfinished Temple of the Sun contains 6 gigantic pink granite monoliths standing side by side. Each weighs many tons. The stones fit together with extraordinary precision despite their immense size. Archaeologists believe construction stopped suddenly during the Spanish conquest, leaving the temple permanently unfinished. The massive blocks remain exactly where Inca builders last placed them. One of Ollantaytambo's greatest mysteries concerns the origin of these stones. The granite was quarried from mountains located across the Urubamba River. Transporting blocks weighing dozens of tons across steep valleys and fast-flowing water would have required remarkable organization. Researchers believe large work crews, wooden rollers, earthen ramps, and carefully coordinated labor made the task possible. Even today, the achievement continues to impress engineers and archaeologists alike. The city was also a masterpiece of urban planning. Stone streets formed an orderly grid. Residential neighborhoods were arranged around central courtyards. Water flowed continuously through carefully carved canals that still carry fresh mountain water today. These channels supplied homes, provided drinking water, and helped maintain sanitation. The hydraulic system remains one of the finest surviving examples of Inca engineering. Ollantaytambo also played a crucial role during one of the most dramatic moments in Inca history. In 1536, the Inca ruler Manco Inca led a rebellion against the Spanish conquistadors. After retreating to Ollantaytambo, he strengthened the city's defenses and flooded parts of the surrounding plain. When Spanish forces attacked, the steep terraces, narrow approaches, and elevated fortifications gave the Inca a significant advantage. The Spanish suffered one of their rare military defeats in the Andes, although Manco Inca later withdrew to the remote stronghold of Vilcabamba. Ollantaytambo became remembered as the site of an extraordinary Inca victory. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of royal residences, storehouses, ceremonial fountains, temples, workshops, and defensive structures throughout the site. Excavations continue to reveal pottery, stone tools, metal objects, and agricultural remains that provide insight into daily life within the royal estate. The combination of ceremonial architecture and practical infrastructure demonstrates that Ollantaytambo functioned as both a sacred center and a thriving community. Modern archaeological research employs laser scanning, drone photography, three-dimensional mapping, and detailed structural analysis to study the ruins without disturbing them. These technologies have revealed subtle construction techniques, hidden drainage systems, and previously overlooked architectural alignments. Researchers continue to investigate unfinished buildings, seeking clues about how Inca stonemasons organized one of history's greatest construction projects. Every survey uncovers new details about this remarkable mountain city. The lost city of the Cloud People rests high above the cloud forests of northern Peru. Hidden along a narrow mountain ridge, massive stone walls emerge from drifting mist. Round houses, towering defensive walls, and steep cliffs surround the ancient settlement. For centuries, the city remained almost invisible beneath dense vegetation. Its isolation helped preserve one of South America's greatest archaeological treasures. This is Cuelap, the remarkable stronghold of the Chachapoya civilization. The Chachapoya, often called the Cloud People, lived within the eastern Andes between the 9th and 16th centuries. Unlike the Inca, they built their settlements in the cool mountain forests where clouds frequently covered the landscape. Their communities occupied high ridges, remote valleys, and nearly inaccessible peaks. These natural defenses protected them while allowing control over important mountain routes. Cuelap became the greatest of their cities. Construction of Cuelap began around the 6th century A.D. Over generations, the settlement expanded into an enormous fortified complex stretching more than 600 meters along the mountain ridge. Its outer defensive walls rise nearly 20 meters high in some places. The scale of the construction rivals many better-known ancient monuments. Millions of limestone blocks were carefully stacked to create walls that still dominate the surrounding landscape today. Access to the city was tightly controlled. Only a few narrow entrances pierced the massive outer walls. Each passage gradually narrowed until only one person could enter at a time. These carefully designed gateways made large-scale attacks extremely difficult. Defenders positioned above could easily monitor anyone approaching. The architecture reveals that security remained a constant concern throughout the city's history. Inside the walls, archaeologists have identified more than 400 circular stone buildings, unlike the rectangular structures favored by the Inca. The Chachapoya preferred round houses with stone foundations. Many feature decorative friezes built directly into the walls, diamond-shaped patterns, zigzags, and geometric designs decorated homes throughout the settlement. Although the wooden roofs disappeared centuries ago, the stone architecture survives remarkably well. Kelap served as far more than a military fortress. Excavations reveal evidence of everyday life, residential neighborhoods, ceremonial spaces, food storage, and agricultural activity. Stone terraces supported farming on the surrounding slopes. Nearby forests provided timber, medicinal plants, and abundant wildlife. The city functioned as both a thriving community and an important ceremonial center for the surrounding region. One of the site's most intriguing discoveries is a circular structure known as El Tintero, or the inkwell. Its unusual inverted cone shape has puzzled archaeologists for decades. Some believe it served ceremonial purposes. Others suggest astronomical observations, elite gatherings, or ritual offerings. No single explanation has gained universal acceptance. The structure remains one of Quelap's enduring mysteries. Archaeologists have also uncovered numerous burials throughout the site: human remains, ceramics, stone tools, textile fragments, and decorative ornaments provide valuable insight into Chachapoya society. Nearby, cliff tombs and funerary towers, known as chulpas, reveal the importance of ancestor worship within their culture. The Cloud people carefully honored their dead, often placing burials high upon inaccessible cliffs overlooking the valleys below. During the late 15th century, the expanding Inca Empire conquered the Chachapoya. Although Quelap continued to be occupied for a time, its political importance gradually declined under Inca control. Only a few decades later, the arrival of the Spanish dramatically altered the region once again. Disease, conflict, and social disruption contributed to the abandonment of many Chachapoya settlements. Eventually, the forest reclaimed the city. Trees, moss, and vines slowly covered the ancient walls. The ruins remained largely unknown outside the local region until 1843, when the judge Juan Crisostomo Nieto reported the site to the outside world. Scientific expeditions followed in the late 19th and 20th centuries. Modern excavations have revealed plazas, drainage systems, domestic buildings, and sophisticated engineering hidden beneath centuries of vegetation. Recent technologies, including LiDAR, drone surveys, and three-dimensional mapping, continue to uncover previously unknown structures surrounding the main fortress. Researchers now believe Quelap was part of a much larger network of Chachapoya settlements extending throughout the cloud forests. The forgotten cave monastery of Ellora lies hidden within a wall of volcanic rock in western India. At first glance, the cliffs appear ordinary, but carved deep into the mountainside. More than 100 caves reveal an astonishing underground world. Temples, monasteries, prayer halls, and towering sculptures emerged directly from solid stone. No blocks were stacked, no walls were assembled. Instead, entire buildings were carved away from the living rock itself. Ellora remains one of the greatest achievements of ancient engineering anywhere on Earth. The caves were created over several centuries, between the 6th and 10th centuries AD, rather than belonging to a single civilization. Ellora reflects the peaceful coexistence of three major religions. The earliest caves were Buddhist monasteries. Later came Hindu temples. Finally, Jain monks carved their own sanctuaries into the same volcanic hillside. Few archaeological sites demonstrate such remarkable religious continuity within a single landscape. Today, 34 major caves are officially open to visitors. 12 are Buddhist, 17 are Hindu. 5 belong to the Jain tradition. Each follows its own artistic style while sharing the same mountain. Together, they form one of the largest rock-cut religious complexes ever created. The monuments stretch for nearly 2 kilometers along the basalt cliffs of the Deccan Plateau, among all the caves. One monument stands above every other, Cave 16, known as the Kailasa Temple. Unlike a conventional cave, it is a freestanding temple carved downward from the top of the mountain. Ancient builders first removed hundreds of thousands of tons of rock before sculpting the temple itself. Columns, shrines, gateways, courtyards, and towering sculptures all emerged from a single mass of stone. It remains one of the largest monolithic monuments ever created. The scale of the engineering continues to astonish archaeologists. Rather than excavating inward, builders began at the summit of the cliff and worked downward. This method left almost no margin for error. A single mistake could have ruined years of work. Researchers estimate that hundreds of thousands of tons of basalt were removed using iron chisels, hammers, and extraordinary planning. Construction likely continued through the reigns of several generations of rulers. Most scholars attribute the Kailasa Temple to King Krishna, the first of the Rashtrakuta dynasty during the 8th century. Inscriptions and stylistic evidence support this conclusion, yet many questions remain. Exactly how thousands of workers coordinated such an immense project, how long construction required, and how the complex sequence of carving was organized continue to be studied today. The monument remains both an artistic masterpiece and an engineering puzzle. The Buddhist caves reveal another side of Ellora. Many served as monasteries where monks lived, studied, and meditated. Large assembly halls contain rows of carved pillars leading toward monumental images of the Buddha. Stone benches, sleeping chambers, water cisterns, and stairways remain remarkably well preserved. These caves were not simply places of worship. They functioned as thriving religious communities for centuries. The Jain Caves, carved during the final construction phase, display extraordinary attention to detail. Delicate ceiling carvings, graceful pillars, and finely sculpted figures reflect the Jain emphasis on spiritual discipline and artistic refinement. Although smaller than the Hindu monuments, their craftsmanship ranks among the finest at Ellora. The intricate carvings demonstrate the remarkable skill achieved by generations of master stoneworkers. Excavations and archaeological surveys have uncovered ancient plaster, pigment traces, ceramic fragments, inscriptions, and evidence of sophisticated drainage systems throughout the complex. Many sculptures were once brightly painted. Although most color has disappeared, small surviving traces remind researchers that Ellora originally looked far more vibrant than the weathered stone visible today. Every excavation continues to improve our understanding of how the monuments were built and used. Modern technology has transformed the study of Ellora. Three-dimensional laser scanning, drone photography, digital modeling, and geological analysis allow researchers to examine the monuments without damaging them. Conservation teams carefully monitor cracks, water infiltration, and weathering caused by seasonal rainfall. As a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Ellora remains one of India's most carefully protected archaeological treasures. Preserving such an immense rock-cut complex is an ongoing challenge. The forgotten water temple of Tirtha Empul lies among the lush hills of central Bali. Crystal-clear spring water rises from beneath the earth. Stone pools shimmer beneath tropical sunlight. Carved fountains pour fresh water into sacred bathing basins. For more than 1,000 years, pilgrims have gathered here seeking purification. Unlike many archaeological sites, Tirtha Empul has never truly fallen silent. Ancient traditions continue to flow as steadily as the spring itself. The temple was established around AD 962 during the Warmadewa dynasty, one of Bali's earliest Hindu kingdoms. Its name, Tirtha Empul, means holy spring. According to Balinese belief, the spring possesses sacred qualities capable of cleansing both body and spirit, generation after generation. The temple became one of the island's most important places of worship. Its ceremonies continue almost exactly as they did centuries ago. The heart of the complex is the natural spring itself. Water emerges directly from underground volcanic aquifers before filling a series of stone purification pools. Unlike artificial reservoirs, the spring has flowed continuously for more than 1,000 years. Its steady supply reflects the volcanic geology that shapes much of Bali. Ancient builders carefully designed the temple around this remarkable natural source rather than altering it. Nature became the foundation of the monument. Visitors entering the temple first pass through beautifully carved gateways, leading into a sequence of open courtyards. Traditional Balinese architecture divides sacred space into carefully planned sections. Each courtyard becomes progressively more spiritual. Stone shrines, pavilions, and ceremonial altars fill the complex. Towering banyan trees provide shade while offering places for prayer and reflection. Every element follows principles deeply rooted in Balinese Hindu philosophy. Perhaps the temple's most recognizable feature is its purification pool. A long row of carved stone fountains pours spring water into clear bathing basins. Each fountain has a specific ceremonial purpose. Worshippers move carefully from one outlet to the next, washing beneath the flowing water while offering prayers. This ritual, known as melukat, represents spiritual purification rather than ordinary bathing. It remains one of Bali's most important living traditions. According to Balinese mythology, the sacred spring was created by the god Indra. Ancient legends tell how the demon king Mayadanawa poisoned local water sources during a great conflict. To save his followers, Indra struck the earth with his spear, causing a miraculous spring of pure water to emerge. The sacred water restored life to those who had fallen, whether understood as myth, religious symbolism, or cultural tradition. The story continues to shape the temple's identity today. Archaeologists have uncovered inscriptions, stone carvings, and architectural features confirming the temple's great antiquity. Successive generations expanded the complex while preserving its original sacred spring. Although many structures have been restored after earthquakes and volcanic activity, the essential layout remains remarkably faithful to its early medieval design. Excavations also reveal sophisticated water management systems that carefully direct the spring throughout the temple grounds. Water has always held exceptional importance in Balinese civilization. Ancient irrigation systems, known as subak, distributed water fairly among surrounding rice fields. These cooperative networks supported agriculture while reflecting religious beliefs about harmony between humans, nature, and the divine. Tirta Empul became closely connected to this broader cultural landscape, serving not only as a religious center, but also as a symbol of life's dependence upon flowing water. Modern archaeological research continues to document the temple using laser scanning, drone photography, three-dimensional mapping, and conservation surveys. Researchers study weathering patterns, stone deterioration, and ancient construction methods to better understand how the monument evolved over the centuries. Careful preservation ensures that modern repairs remain faithful to traditional craftsmanship while protecting the fragile carvings from tropical conditions. Despite more than 1,000 years of continuous use, the temple still retains an atmosphere of remarkable tranquility. The sound of flowing water fills every courtyard. Incense drifts through the air. Offerings of flowers and woven palm leaves decorate the shrines each morning, unlike many archaeological monuments preserved only as ruins. Tirta Empul remains a living sanctuary where history and faith continue together every single day. The pit houses of Ohalo II rest beside the tranquil shores of the Sea of Galilee in northern Israel. At first, the site appears unremarkable. There are no towering temples, no massive stone walls, no royal tombs. Instead, archaeologists uncovered the fragile remains of small, brush-covered huts built by ordinary people. Yet these humble homes have transformed our understanding of prehistoric life, because beneath layers of ancient mud, time itself stood still. Ohalo II dates to approximately 23,000 years ago during the last glacial maximum, at a time when much of the world experienced colder climates. Groups of hunter-gatherers established a seasonal camp beside the lake. For thousands of years, the settlement remained hidden beneath rising water. The lake covered the site with protective sediments, preserving delicate organic materials that almost never survive at prehistoric settlements. It became one of the best preserved Ice Age camps ever discovered. The site came to light in 1989, after unusually low water levels exposed parts of the ancient shoreline. Archaeologists quickly recognized that the exposed remains were extraordinary. Excavations revealed 6 oval pit houses, outdoor hearths, work areas, and several human graves. Unlike most prehistoric settlements, where only stone tools remain, Ohalo II preserved an astonishing range of fragile evidence rarely found elsewhere. The pit houses themselves were shallow depressions dug into the ground. Wooden branches formed their framework. Layers of grass, reeds, and brush created protective roofs. Although the organic materials had long since decayed, their impressions remained preserved within the sediment. Researchers reconstructed the huts by studying post holes, plant remains, and collapsed roof materials. These simple shelters offered protection against wind, rain, and changing temperatures along the lakeshore. Inside the huts, archaeologists uncovered fireplaces, grinding stones, stone blades, bone tools, and countless food remains. The distribution of objects suggests that each dwelling served different daily activities. Some areas were used for preparing food. Others contained evidence of tool-making, plant processing, or sleeping spaces, even 23,000 years ago. These small homes reflected careful organization. One of Ohalo II's greatest discoveries came from the remarkable preservation of plant remains. More than 100,000 seeds and fruits were recovered. Wild barley, wild wheat, oats, legumes, figs, almonds, and numerous edible grasses were identified. This extraordinary collection demonstrated that Ice Age hunter-gatherers possessed extensive knowledge of local plants. They harvested a wide variety of foods throughout the seasons. Some of the recovered cereal grains even showed evidence of deliberate processing. Grinding stones found nearby contained microscopic traces of starch. Researchers believe the inhabitants were preparing flour from wild grains thousands of years before agriculture officially began, although they had not yet domesticated crops. Ohalo II suggests that people were already experimenting with plant harvesting and food preparation in surprisingly sophisticated ways. The origins of farming may therefore reach deeper into prehistory than once believed. Animal remains paint an equally detailed picture. Fish bones, bird remains, gazelle, hare, fox, and deer demonstrate an incredibly diverse diet. The nearby Sea of Galilee provided abundant freshwater fish, while surrounding forests and grasslands supplied wild game. The people of Ohalo II adapted successfully to many different environments, taking advantage of every available resource. Their survival depended upon flexibility rather than specialization. The preservation extended beyond food. Archaeologists recovered twisted fibers, cordage, wood fragments, and even impressions of woven materials. These discoveries offer rare evidence of technologies that usually disappear completely from the archaeological record. Objects made from plants and wood formed an essential part of prehistoric life, yet they almost never survive. At Ohalo II, the mud preserved details that are normally lost forever. Modern archaeological research continues to study the site using microscopic analysis, radiocarbon dating, ancient pollen studies, sediment analysis, and high-resolution mapping. Every new investigation reveals additional information about climate, vegetation, diet, and daily life during the Ice Age. Ohalo II has become one of the world's most important reference sites for understanding prehistoric hunter-gatherers before the emergence of agriculture. Today, the pit houses of Ohalo II remind us that history is not written only by kings, empires, or monumental cities. Sometimes, the greatest archaeological discoveries come from the homes of ordinary families, simple huts beside an ancient lake, preserved by chance beneath quiet waters, have revealed how people gathered food, built shelter, shared daily life, and slowly began the long journey that would eventually lead to farming, permanent villages, and the rise of civilization itself.